This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. We're going to skip ahead now because I think we've seen enough Buff Bagwell to save us for a while. So instead, we're going to jump on over to Cactus Jack and Ron Simmons on the WWE Network. So if you're watching with us, I'm at 39:18 right now, 39:20, and we're going to see really a remarkable performer ahead of his time, Cactus Jack, and he's going to be taking on Ron Simmons. And man, this is talk about styles clashes. I mean, this guy is a once-in-a-lifetime performer, and he's about to take on a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. This should be fun.
What he has is a death wish. Suicide intrigues Crazy Jack. I'm going to tell you that for sure. The first time I ever saw him wrestle live, don't know where it is in this sequence of events, but he wrestled Mil Mascaras in San Antonio.
It was Corpus Christi.
There you go.
And I cover it this Thursday,
what I said, Corpus Christi.
2 days from now, with Jim Ross. And he was Cactus Jack Manson there. And I know what you're about to say. He took this fucking horrific flatback on the concrete that if we saw it today, we would think they're dead. And he did it 30 years ago.
Well, it would have killed a normal guy.
Unbelievable.
It would have killed me. It would have killed you.
Did you know that spot was coming before you saw it?
God, no. No.
I mean, at that point, half the boys have to think, we got to go help him.
Well, and he'd already set the indoor record for hip tosses. I don't know why. They did 111 hip tosses during that match. Go back and watch it if it's the one I'm thinking about. And that bump off of the apron on the concrete floor, when he came to the back and I saw that he was alive and might not die, I went up and I said, Jack, you have got no sense. He looked right at me and he said, no, Arn, I got no money.
Yeah, I got no dollars.
Got no dollars.
That's a great line.
And it's absolutely happened.
Yeah.
And I went, there you have it. I get it, 100%.
What a great line. You got no sense? No, I got no dollars. By the way, Cornette gave him he knew Cornette was pushing hard for Cactus to come in. They booked Mil Mascaras on a handful of, Mexican border town shows that WCW was running. When Cactus finds out he's working with him, he does not want to. Mil had a bit of a reputation. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he was concerned about the match, and Jim said, listen, I'll be on commentary. I'll make sure that you're the star when the thing's over. So Jack did his spot, and look at this. Hanging himself. What a spot this is.
On purpose.
Yeah. A signature spot of his that's going to ultimately cost him his ear against Vader. I mean, there's never been somebody like Mick Foley in the history of professional wrestling. I don't think there ever will be again.
God, I hope not.
Either way.
Because, and I mean that in the best.
Oh, absolutely.
The guy absolutely gave the wrestling world everything he possibly could muster up. Everything he had, he gave you. And if it meant falling off a 10-story building, that's what he gave you.
I know this sounds silly, but do you think Mick Foley loved wrestling more than any other wrestler you ever met? Because you got to love it to do some of that shit.
I think he loved the business. I won't say wrestling because, let's face it, his style is self-deprecation, self-destruction, and brawling. He's not what I would call a
classic Greco-Roman. Yeah.
But I think he loved the wrestling business as much as anybody out there for what he's willing to do for the business.
It's pretty remarkable what we're seeing here too, because it's two, soon to be world champions. And I don't think anybody knew this at that point. I mean, maybe some folks could see that now that Ron is no longer with Butch, he's primed for a key spot here. But I mean, Foley's going to go on to have a much bigger career in the scheme of things. And I don't know that anybody would have picked that. How about Sylvester Ritter
in the audience
in a tuxedo, looking as only he can look?
What a good dude, man. What a good dude JYD was.
This match is going to go 6 minutes and 33 seconds, 2.5 stars.
Let me tell you something. The guy he's in the ring with, and I'm talking about Ron Simmons, is all man, brother. Make no mistake. What an athlete.
Yeah, he really is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. We talked about earlier. I mean, it's funny, you know, when you're a non-football fan, you don't recognize how important this is. But to finish, I mean, I think he was top 10 in Heisman voting as a defensive lineman. Wow.
I think it was like 4th, wasn't he?
I think it was like 9th or something. And when he said it on stage, I could be wrong, but I just remember being in the back for StarCast in Baltimore, and he's sitting with Scott Hudson, and Scott says something like, you know, I read through some of your accolades, Ron, before we came out here, and I couldn't believe you were only 9th in the Heisman. I thought you finished a lot higher than that. And Ron was so incredulous at the phrasing. He's like, I was a goddamn defensive player. Shouldn't have even been on the list. What are you talking about? And there you see the elbow off the top rope to the floor, all that weight on the hip. You know, his working weight, 303 pounds, right down on the hip on the concrete. Not advisable.
And that's just an amateur wrestling pad on top of concrete.
Right.
It didn't budge not an inch.
Yeah, I think sometimes fans who have not been inside of a wrestling ring think the wrestling ring is a trampoline and the pads on the outside are like a foam ball pit down at Chuck E. Cheese. That is not the case.
No, and it's cement underneath those 1.5 inch, you know, amateur or whatever you want to call them. If it's
what your kids take a nap on in preschool.
Well said.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And we got 300-pound dudes falling on their joints on it. That's not great.
No. And let me tell you, it's not that Jack was the toughest man in the world, because I guarantee you, once he got back in the back,
he was
took a shower, he was hurting,
yep,
and he was hobbling, and he went and he suffered in silence. It's not like he was avoiding all that pain and immune to it somehow. He was not one of those guys. He was just willing to do what nobody else was willing to do.
How do you know, when you're a young guy cutting your teeth, I mean, here Jack is probably, I don't know what his contract details are, but he's making 100.5 tops, probably less. But you're paying for your own expenses out of that. So I know a lot of people hear that and think, oh, that's a great deal of money. And don't get me wrong, it is. But when you're also paying, and I know Jack was Frugal McDougal and he earned that reputation, but still, what keeps you motivated to do? Look at this.
Okay.
Spinebuster on the ramp. This is the same match, by the way, where we've seen him hang himself and we've seen the elbow off the top to the floor. He's not out here doing it for the money. I don't think he's just doing it for the 4,000 fans watching in the arena. It's not like if a bunch of people do it on pay-per-view, he's going to get a lot more. He's on the third match on the card. There's just got to be something in you that really wants to do this. Am I wrong?
He's the 8-year-old kid.
Yep.
That's climbing up on his roof and is going to jump off on the picnic table with the mattress on top of it, that doesn't care if he gets his ass in a sling with his mom, his dad, the neighbors. He's that kid right now. And he's doing what he's wanted to do his entire life.
And that's your finish. After all that spectacular shit that Jack did, he lost. Ron Simmons wins. But when the match is over, yes, Ron won. People are talking about Cactus Jack. And they see the post-match brawl. And everybody's looking, and there he is.
Abby.
You got any Abdullah the Butcher stories?
Yes, I do. Oh, that was a little snug. I'm sure Ron is doing the damn for real.
Yeah, of all the people you could hit in the head too hard accidentally, I don't think Ron Simmons would make my list. But thankfully, the cavalry is here. JYD coming down in his white tuxedo.
I'm pretty sure that if Ron would have came up off that mat, Abby would be in the back right now.
I love the working security. Do it to Dillinger, too. Headbutt Dillinger.
Yeah.
Let's see. That would have been great.
Why he didn't shove Doug down, I don't know. You know, this guy's responsible for making me an Anderson. You know that.
I do.
JYD, I owe him.
We talked about that in the archives. You got to go check that out. Our very first episode.
Good
Hear
man.
how Marty Lundy became Arn Anderson.
And, buddy, he did it at a time when he was in Louisiana and was as hot as Hulk Hogan in Louisiana. My God, was he over. It was incredible.
And, of course, a lot of the reason he's here, Bill Watts, going to get the keys to the castle. He's a big fan of JYD, drew a lot of money with JYD. Of course, we know that later this very year, we're going to put the belt on Ron Simmons, also a Bill Watts situation. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.